Sometimes we think you have to have the biggest and best title to have the deepest wisdom. On my travels, I have found the people with the deepest wisdom are just your everyday people, regular people who just happen to know things. Listen intently as we hear stories of wisdom from everyday people. Hello, welcome to Regular People Who Know Things, stories of wisdom from everyday people. Again, I started this podcast because I wanted to be able to highlight the stories of people that you would meet at the grocery store or the post office. You know, when you're having that conversation and you leave with the deepest wisdom you ever felt you could hear to continue forward in your life. Let's listen as Aaron James shares with us his story of finding purpose. We have Aaron James with us today, and I want to thank you, Aaron, for coming onto the show and telling us your story. What are you going to talk to us about?
I'm going to speak about purpose and just kind of how it was a main focus of my life and how it shaped the things that I did. And, that's pretty much it.
All right. Well, I want to remind you that when you come into this space, it is number one, sacred, but also we want to give our audience a nugget of wisdom, something they can take with them. So along your story, let us know what that can be. And if it's more than one thing, wonderful, but go ahead.
All right. Well, I guess I'll start with kind of like a very pivotal story in the story of my life. When I was in I guess for a pivotal story, I should know exactly what grade, but it was either third or fifth grade. I'm pretty sure it was fifth grade. Fifth grade, this was the first time I had ever gotten straight A's. It was something that my mother challenged me to do. She was like, I don't even remember if there was some kind of payoff, something like, a bribe or something like that.
Yes,
like
absolutely.
I'll do this for you if you get straight A's. But up
Like
until that
allowance or
point,
something.
People had told me, as a student, they're like, oh my gosh, Aaron, you have such potential. Potential, that was the thing I heard the most in my life growing up, was like,
Okay.
Aaron, you've got potential. You could do anything you want to do if you set your mind to it. You have potential.
Yeah.
And it's, that's great.
Potential.
So anyway, so whatever the case may be, there was this particular time my mother challenged me to get straight A's, and I was able to do it for 1/4 of school.
Good for you.
When I did it, though, I realized that I did not care.
Why?
I don't know. It's just one of those things that, it seemed like such an achievement to everyone else. Like, oh my gosh, straight A's, I guess I came from a family. My mother very much was a teacher. So academics were a very important thing to her, and my father as well, but more so my mother. I remember it being that way. And I felt like in getting straight A's, I was supposed to be like happy. You know what I mean? Like I was supposed to go like, woohoo.
It was this big event.
I did it, but there wasn't that feeling. And that was the thing that made me realize that I don't know, maybe something was off.
Okay. What do you mean?
I don't know.
Off.
Like I would like there was something wrong. Like there's something not quite ticking correctly in my brain or something. I don't know.
Right.
Just you notice everyone around you when they get straight A's, it's like, oh my gosh, they feel so like they achieved something.
Right. Everyone's excited. I got a new CD for getting my straight A's. So I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. And I probably got something. I don't remember what it was. But I just I didn't feel anything.
Oh wow.
So, it really made me question purpose. Like, straight A's are wonderful, but what was the point
All right.
of getting straight A's?
Okay.
You know, and you know, I think my mother was the idea was you get straight A's, you get a good job, you make good
Yes,
money,
absolutely.
you have a good lifestyle,
Right.
a
Living on top of the
comfortable
world.
lifestyle.
Absolutely.
And this is all audio, so no one can see me. So I'll inform the audience that I am 6'8".
Okay.
I'm not a small human being.
Okay.
So with that being what it is, there are certain things in life that are going to just cost more for me because
Absolutely.
I need
You're
things
taller.
for a dude my size.
Okay.
And my mom told me that growing up that was going to be necessary.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
it was like, oh, get good grades, make a lot of money, be able
Get
to
those tall
support,
people clothes.
or in cars and things, which, there was more to my mother's teachings than that, but there was
Absolutely.
this is one specific aspect that I'm speaking of.
All right.
So, yeah, it made me wonder, why? What was I trying to achieve all this for? And even still, with the end of it, like all things achieved, what's the money for?
All right.
Like why live a comfortable lifestyle? Then what?
Right.
Like what's it? What does it all mean?
Okay.
And at the time I was in Christian school, and I was a born again believer at that time,
All right.
which, even now I wonder what the real truth or how all that comes to be. I remember saying the prayer, um, asking God to come into my heart, the typical, this is how you ask Jesus into your heart prayer. And I remember doing it because I didn't want to go to what I called it the hot place
Okay.
at the time. So it was kind of like, I was in Christian school. I said this prayer because, it's kind of like a free get out of hell ticket,
Right.
so that's what you do to get your ticket so that you don't have to go to hell.
Don't go in there. It's hot.
And this is the understanding of someone who's in fifth grade.
Right. Absolutely.
So, but I don't know. I guess in the end, what I did feel was kind of like emptiness towards it all.
Okay.
Like you look ahead in life and you've got your get out of jail free card. You've achieved your straight A's,
Mm-hmm.
and you've realized it's something that you're capable of doing, but so what? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's still, I guess, getting out of hell allows you to look forward to something after you've died, but what about while you live?
All right. I hear you.
You still, unless you plan on exiting yourself early, you plan on living for a little bit, probably.
Okay.
I mean,
Hopefully.
granted, we don't know how long our lifespans are going to be, but
No,
there's something.
we don't. Correct.
So what are we supposed to do with these lives that we're given?
Mm.
And I think maybe, I don't know what other fifth graders were thinking, but that was the biggest thing on my mind was like, what's it all for?
Right.
And honestly, at the time, most adults did not have any kind of real answer for me.
All right.
Or perhaps maybe didn't even take me seriously.
Okay. That happens.
Yeah, so let's see. I believe I kind of went on after that to just kind of hang out with my friends because
Okay.
I guess the assumption was, if I don't know what life's for, that's fine. I can still have some fun.
Okay. All right.
So I think I spent most of grade school, just doing whatever random whimsical thing came to my mind. Like
You
I
didn't
was
think
I
of
was a
really anything else.
troublemaker.
Right.
No, I
Okay.
mean, I didn't set my mind on getting good grades. I was terrible at doing that. It's hard to do things. I will say that's probably my biggest failing in life is that lack of discipline where you can like force yourself to do the things that you really don't feel like doing.
All right.
Um, I could get good test grades in school, but
Okay.
I never did homework.
You wouldn't be alone.
Nah, I'm probably not alone in that. So I got
Well,
very
thank you.
mediocre grades.
All right.
I did enough to pass, and I'm sure some people hated me for it because it was very little effort to get good grades in school or to get good test scores. You sit there, you listen to your teacher, they read you. This is the time before, I don't know if like the millennials will understand this experience, but because I think school has changed. But your teacher just kind of read and lectured you, and then you regurgitated that information back into test form.
Right.
And my brain was quick enough to
Very
just
easy.
remember
Yes.
the stuff they said.
If you can remember it, you're good.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you just write it down, or usually there's a, B, C, or D. And
No
you just
critical
check one.
thinking.
Yeah,
Just
none of that.
cram it in your head.
We didn't do that back in the day. We didn't critically think about anything.
Try
in
to
school.
keep it in your head as much as you
We
can.
just regurgitated information.
Well, they have Google now. We didn't
Yeah.
have Google either. So
Yeah.
it's a different world.
So
Yes.
school was super boring back then.
All right.
It was for me.
Okay.
I'm speaking personally, obviously.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you.
The school that wasn't boring was always the school, the classes with teachers that were just like excited about whatever they were teaching people. So, the teachers that had that extra oomph, I did well with. So the next story I'll tell is another pivotal moment in me trying to figure out what my purpose is. I was super into knives when I was a kid. And this story takes place probably like 7th or 8th grade. I had a hunting knife that I had gotten from my dad. It was in a little leather case. I actually still have it somewhere around here. This particular time, I was procrastinating while I was supposed to be doing homework.
Right.
Instead of doing that, I was like, sharpening this knife.
Okay. And this was at home?
This is at home.
Okay.
I'm sitting at my, desk in my room.
Not doing homework,
not doing homework.
the knife, because it's more fun.
It's way
at that
way more
point in your life. Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because I had a stone and oil, like it was like I was into it.
Right. It was a ritual. Yeah, that was your thing.
Yeah. Which, by the way, if you've never sharpened a knife with a stone and some oil, like it is one of the most zen things you could ever do with your hands. Anyways, moving on.
That's awesome.
So, I had okay, so the next day I go to school after this.
All right.
Having really probably, I don't even remember if I completed that assignment or not. Probably not. So when I got to school, I was pulling a pen out from my bag or something, and then I realized, like, oh man, look at this. I dropped that knife in my school bag.
Uh-oh.
And I think this was pre-Columbine.
All right.
Because Columbine was like that event that, like, after that you couldn't bring like, a fingernail file to school that was too sharp.
Correct.
Because things got serious. But at Christian school, things were pretty serious anyway. And we had obviously rules against bringing stuff like weapons to school.
Yeah, Columbine was 1999. So I don't know if that gives you any context.
Okay, so yes, this was definitely pre-Columbine.
Okay.
So I'm like, oh, oops, yes. I brought a knife to school. That was totally accidental. Didn't mean to do that.
Right.
So instead of,
and this was Christian school.
Yeah. So I thought I made the wisest choice. Like I was so proud of the choice. I was like, you know what I'll do?
Yes.
I will go to a teacher with my knife.
Right.
And throw myself on their mercy. Hand them my knife and be like, hey, this was totally accidental.
I'm sorry.
Didn't mean to do this.
Right.
here it is. You
Yes.
can call my parents and tell them I brought it in, all
Oh,
of that
that's
stuff.
good.
Because, I mean, it was just a reasonable, like,
Yeah, you just wanted to do the right thing.
it was a oopsie. It
You
wasn't
didn't need
like
to do
a,
that. Uh-oh.
not on purpose at all.
Right, absolutely. You were having fun sharpening your knife. You
Um,
brought that, not your homework,
yeah,
probably.
next thing you
So,
know, I'm
all right.
suspended.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh
That
wow.
didn't
So
work.
you turned in the knife and you got suspended.
Full, it threw the book at me.
So you did the right way. Finally, you were trying to do the right thing, and they
So
were
the
like,
moral
"Nope."
of the story is people don't
Handcuffs on the
do the
hands.
right thing. Cheat, lie, and
Don't
steal. Get around the rules.
tell them
Because, no,
that.
I'm kidding. I'm
That's not
kidding.
what our
But
audience needs to hear. Thank you so
I'm kidding. Like, no, you should
much.
definitely do the right thing anyway. But the reality of the situation was
Very
like,
much.
I don't know. So this particular moment, how it applies to everything, it's like, you go to a Christian school
Yes.
and you're taught about this, well, I would say you're taught a lot of things, but there's, this idea of this merciful God, and, you know, and you think that, the people who follow him would be able to look at you and see your heart in a situation and not
Right.
like, be so,
Right.
stick to the, what do they call it? There's a
Law.
specific thing when we talk about Christians and how in the rules they can be about stuff.
Is it legalistic?
There it is.
All
That's the
right.
word.
It came to my head
Yeah, there it is. The
at the
legalistic
last minute.
Christians. So yeah, this particular moment was a very legalistic moment
So it didn't matter what your heart was.
at
You
all.
did the right thing, but it was the law, the legal law
At all.
in that moment.
Yeah. In
Yeah, I
that moment,
understand.
it didn't matter even a
Yes.
little bit.
They were doing what they thought was right, and you
Yeah.
had to
I
suffer
had
that
to
consequence.
punish
Right.
my mistakes.
Right. Absolutely. I
Which,
hear you.
I guess that's what, as a kid, it felt like that's what life was. Just
I
punish,
don't
like
know.
you make mistakes, you get punished.
I guess.
Yeah, it's a very black and white thing. It really doesn't matter. And it's funny,
Well, you're
later.
disciplining your kids, so it feels that way, especially at first, right? Yes, no, stop.
I mean, just full disclosure, I'm still a Christian now. I'd say even more so, just because I had to own my faith. I look in the Bible and I see who Christ is, like
Right.
the things that Jesus did that were supposed to be like, the namesake of Christian, supposed to be Christ followers.
Okay.
So you have to read the book and see who Christ is and then follow that example. And
Thank
he
you for
was
sharing.
super about, Jesus was super about like the hearts of people.
Okay. Well, that's why I wanted to
Um,
start this podcast as well, because I wanted to encourage people to get to know the hearts of people. But continue.
right. So, I mean, that question brings up like, what's the purpose of being a Christian? You know what I mean?
Purpose. There's that word again.
Yeah.
You keep using.
What is the
Yes.
point? Like, if you're gonna do all these things, you're gonna try your hardest to like, play by the rules. What difference does it make if it doesn't matter? If
Right.
there's no point, there's no purpose in following the rules. So honestly, around that time, I just stopped.
Oh, wow. You were
I
like
stopped
done.
following the rules. Like I
Oh,
didn't
wow.
think I didn't. Well.
Was it the knife issue after that? You're saying after you got suspended for turning in the knife and doing what you felt is the right thing, you just didn't care anymore. Is that
Yeah,
what you're
I
saying?
just didn't care anymore. I mean,
Oh,
it wasn't like, well, I guess there are a few times when I specifically broke rules on purpose,
okay.
purely for the fun of it.
All right.
Um,
You're being honest.
yeah. I mean,
Thank you. We need that in our space here. It's
but I just didn't care. Like,
transparency.
to me, there was no point to try to be good.
Why didn't you care? What was this? What's this in you, this feeling at that time? What felt like I don't know what that means. So explain to our audience what it means to not care. And obviously there are things I don't care about, but in that space where you were, like, what happened? What did it feel like?
So we talk about purpose, we talk about motivation.
All right. Okay.
Okay, like what
What moves
motivates you
you?
to do, to follow a rule,
And
or
motivate means move. So something has to move you.
right, something has to
Correct.
move you to actually like do the thing you're supposed to do.
And nothing moved
Um,
you.
no,
Ah,
I mean, if the motivation was, well, if you get in trouble anyway, even when your heart's in the
right.
right
What's the
place,
purpose?
why I should have just kept my mouth shut, not got suspended,
Mm.
you know what I mean?
You
And
see kids
then
do that all the time. They get deflated and they give up.
yeah, so I mean, I just, and it's, I wouldn't say that breaking the rules became my purpose, but it was just
Okay.
more like having fun trumped everything
Right.
after that. Like there
Absolutely.
was, even breaking those rules, the ones that I did break on purpose were like purely for the fun of it.
What does it mean to have fun? So for you, having fun was breaking rules?
No,
Or okay,
having
what are you
fun was
saying?
doing whatever I was doing. All right, so there was another terrible school story of mine. There was actually a time that I was in school and a friend of mine found this website, um,
Oh boy,
that and in the
gotta love the
website it
websites.
taught you how to build like a homemade dart gun out
Oh
of like
no.
a shoelace and a ballpoint pen.
Okay.
Like you hollow out the pen. I probably
You look
shouldn't
invigorated
tell.
as you're talking about this.
I'm
You
not really
probably shouldn't.
invigorated by
Okay.
it. I mean, it was
You
it
look
was fun
amazed.
at the
All
time
right.
to build,
Okay.
because not only was it fun to build,
Like
it
you're
like worked
reminiscing.
really well,
Okay. So you're fascinated with
and it
that.
was amazing.
Okay. See, I saw a look in your face.
Like,
You
okay,
looked
I mean,
excited.
it was one of those things that we built them
Right. You're proud of it.
and they were awesome.
Okay. Go ahead.
Um,
Continue. So you built it.
yeah, I built it and I was, shooting it at people,
Okay.
which, is horrible. I
At
shouldn't laugh
school.
at school.
All
Like,
right.
this
You're
is
laughing.
me making a weapon in school. I
All
didn't get
right.
caught for
You made
this.
it in school.
Yeah.
Okay. In Christian school.
Hmm.
And they didn't know you were doing it.
Nah.
Wow. Okay. Keep going.
Um, Not this particular thing. I didn't
Right.
get
Well,
caught for that.
absolutely. Kids do stuff that people don't see all the time. So I'm not surprised. But
It's
anyways, go
funny,
ahead.
I had
I'm not
this.
familiar with Christian schools because I've never been to one. So I'm just, well, actually, I went to seminary. That's not
I was
true.
going to say you
But
did.
it's a different vibe.
Right, that's
Totally
that's
different
true. It's
experience
college.
when
It's
you're an
not high
adult.
school. Yeah.
Right. I was getting a master's. But still, go ahead.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess I did break rules, but that particular one I broke because I thought it would be fun to build, like, a dart shooter
All
out of
right.
stuff that I could find locally. And then I was amazed at how well it worked. I mean, I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I could get in trouble, never entered my mind.
Ah,
You know what I mean?
so you
Like,
did that and you didn't think about what consequence it would bring because you didn't care. You were
right.
at that point where you were like, whatever, this is fun.
And it was like, if I can get into trouble, like the reality was there were a few things that I did wrong that I got caught for and I got in trouble. But there was a lot of things that I got in trouble for when I was a kid that were just like, how do I put it? Ridiculous to me.
All right.
Like those things that you do accidentally. Like, I believe that what you do, like your motivation for things and your heart in a situation, is probably the most important aspect of it. I guess sometimes the consequences,
Mm,
there are consequences for you doing something that are like, oh, oops, I didn't even mean for those consequences to happen.
regardless of how you
You know what
meant
I
it.
mean? But it's like
Absolutely. Sometimes.
sometimes, especially when it's like there was no one harmed. You know what I mean? If you made a mistake and there was no one harmed and you weren't trying to be malicious or
All right.
like have your heart was in no way trying to like be rebellious, or even you're just like, oh, I didn't realize, X, Y, and Z would happen with
Mm,
whatever,
you made a
and
mistake.
yeah, you made a mistake.
All right.
No real consequences. I so often got in trouble for dumb stuff like that.
Okay.
And it was just like,
So what take me back to the blow dart You made this. You, it sounds to me you're saying because you didn't have purpose, you wandered aimlessly and just did whatever came to your mind
That is
for fun.
exactly it.
Okay. So,
So much so that I can't even really remember all the stuff that I did.
all right.
I was just doing like whatever comes to mind. Like, I just got done watching a new episode of Marie Kondo. Whatever sparked joy in my mind at that moment,
Right. I
I
am
just did.
all about sparking joy, but Maria Kondo's talking more about like the love, the positive, what brings greatness to the world, I think. I don't know if, building a dart gun and then harming someone is like,
Yeah,
who knows?
it sparked laughter, maybe
But
not joy.
so in you doing random, whatever purposeless things, that sparks your joy. Whereas in me, it would be, smelling a flower or something
Right.
like that
But
and
see, there's
something
this
that,
element of truth to it all. It's like I really enjoyed building them. I built more than one. I didn't need more than one homemade dart gun. I just
right.
built more than one because like creating with my hands was satisfying.
Right. So I
So
want to,
there's these little elements in that stuff that's like,
yes.
yes, there's something in me that is creative and loves to build with my hands. You
Okay.
know
So
what I
you were
mean?
creating something.
And like, when this is like I said, this is back in the day when you didn't do that stuff in school. Like you didn't create anything. You just sat
Oh,
there,
I get
listened to this information and
absolutely.
regurgitated. So it was like,
Right.
ooh, you mean I get to actually like
You
build
need to be
something?
creating something. Like my son, he likes to build with gears, and my daughter, they like to like build, it looks like an empires, with these things, but you can see their brains just turning while they're doing it. So I want to say when I was teaching at a private school in North Carolina, one of the books I read before school started, we had to read as a staff, was called The Right Motivation. And it talked about how we're all motivated by something. It just might not be in the direction we're supposed to go in. So a lot of people feel unmotivated, but that child who sits in class and does nothing is still motivated. He's so motivated by the fact that he's bored that he will go out of his way to do nothing. So there's still movement there. It's just not productive for some people, but he's still like, you were motivated to make that blow dart gun. It just may not have been as productive for everyone else. So I guess I want to know, like, how is this shaping you today? Like,
Right. So like,
yes,
and what does that have to do with the idea um of purpose?
yes. Like you wandered then and now you're here. Like there's this huge gap in between. Like what
Right.
happened
Wait,
and have you grown?
so the short answer is yes, but we're
Okay.
gonna we're gonna we're gonna lead it there.
Take it. Take
So,
your time. I'm
up
listening.
until this point, like unmotivated to follow rules,
Okay. I hear what you're saying.
unmotivated to be like, I guess a very to to be what's the word? My morality was not motivated by, we'll just call it Christianity.
I get you. So those rules, those laws didn't move you to do the things they were asking you to do,
Yeah, which is kind of a huge problem. Like, and
basically.
I'm unmotivated by money or the
Right.
idea of status.
I understand that.
Um,
I'm the same way.
so but these are all pillars in our country.
You can't
You know
offer
what I
me money.
mean?
I'm like, yeah, okay, next. Can you be kind to me? That might motivate me some more.
But how do you find your way in this country with those things not motivating
Right.
you? Like, because that's the
Absolutely.
way everyone tries to get you to go a certain
Well,
direction.
people see you as lazy because you're not out chasing the money,
Right.
or whatever. Go ahead.
So, I went to college because that's what you do next when you leave high school and you're following the rule book.
Okay. In a
Um,
certain culture
and yeah,
of
and
people.
that's what I was told was
Right.
next.
Absolutely.
You go to college. I went to, well, I guess I wouldn't say I actually went to college. I
Okay.
signed up for Guilford Tech for a semester and never actually went. Um, Still wandering aimlessly. Went to a lot of college parties. Oh yeah, It was Del Tech, yeah, Del Tech in Guilford County. I don't know, whatever. As you see, it wasn't important to me. I don't even remember the name of the place. Yeah, Delaware Technical Community College, Del Tech is what it
There
was.
you go. Okay, I hear what you're saying. You're like, whatever. I didn't even care about the school.
I,
You're
I
just
didn't.
so you didn't what you signed up and
Yeah, I mean, I signed up, I tested in, like,
okay.
I had to take an aptitude test, and I actually tested out of a lot of the math classes and stuff like that
That's
and into the
beautiful.
higher level classes, which
Save you
once
some
again
money.
points to the fact that, like, hey, the kid is smart, he can learn all this stuff, he just is
All right.
he has no idea what to do with
That's
all
not
this
what he wants
information.
to do. Right. That's not what you wanted to
Like,
do.
there was no point in which people were like, hey, and
Okay.
with this information you can, I don't know, build bridges or, fly rockets. And, had I been doing that stuff, I probably would have maybe applied myself more. But information without purpose left me very listless and drifting.
Okay. I hear you.
Um, so I didn't go to school.
Hmm.
My parents found out eventually because,
So you weren't going. You signed up, but you weren't actually going
I would
to
get in
class.
my car
Oh,
and
wow.
leave.
I hear a lot of people who do that for work. Like they tell their wives they're going to their job, but they just get in the car because they don't have the strength to say, the courage. Like, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. I'm sure that was in a movie, but I know people, who I've heard of someone who said that she did that before. She was in her car. She didn't really go into class. So that's hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's
You literally just did not go.
no, I
Oh my
mean,
gosh, I can't imagine. What did you do
so let's
instead? What
think.
were you doing? You get in your car, you got in your car, did you take your book bag? Like
Well,
what,
I
how
did
did
still
you?
have a job. I
All
was
right.
working at Circuit City at the time, which super dates me because that doesn't even exist anymore.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Or Radio Shack. I wonder, is Radio Shack still around?
yeah,
I
so I
wonder.
think I was going to work
Okay.
some or something, and then I was
Wow.
just going out with friends and hanging out.
All right.
Um,
How long did you do that?
not long
All right.
because you can't.
Live for too long.
Yeah, eventually somebody's like, so do you have a report card? Or,
Grade records or something.
something.
You're probably not alone in that. A lot of people probably went through the same thing.
Yeah, and it's so funny because,
That's
like,
why our audience needs to hear from you. Yeah.
it did come to a head, and at some point, like, my mom and my stepdad were like, so obviously you're not going. What are you doing?
Absolutely. Like, what are you going to do with your life?
And
That's
we
what parents will ask.
honestly, at that time, I remember that conversation with them still feeling like a child.
So you feel like, I'm going to stop here for a second. It sounds like I'm hearing A student, all A's, you get all A's. You're like, what is this purpose? You start doing purposeless things, some harmful, but also you did some right things and got punished for it. And now you're just kind of wandering. And now your parents are like, what are you going to do? And so what'd you do?
Um, I went to another
Oh,
college.
well,
I went to
because
North
that'll
Carolina
fix it.
Central
That's going to fix
for
it.
a semester, and the same exact thing
Oh,
happened
no,
again.
gosh. Why?
Except,
What?
except, except this time, I got more debt.
What made you go to another college if the first one didn't work out, and
Well,
why? How that's hard because now you have to pay for something you didn't really, not that it's any different than a lot of us who get our master's degrees, but
I mean,
that's
I
hard.
tried. I thought it
Why did you
might be
go again?
different because in school, some of my saving graces were like music classes.
All right.
So instead of the first time I went to a technical community college
All right.
and didn't care about any of that. This time I went to North Carolina Central and I was a music major. So it was like, okay, I'm going to join
Four-year college, you
choirs
thought it'd be different.
because, when I was one of my saving graces when I was in Concord High School in Delaware, uh, I was a part of, my senior year, our choir was part of this competition, and we went to Florida to compete and we won.
Mhm.
So I was like super high on that, and I was all state third seat tenor.
Mm.
And that was awesome. So like a lot of my life when I went to this new school, um my junior year revolved around music.
Right.
And it was something I very much loved to do.
All right. That's
um
good.
and I had a great teacher. He was like young and didn't talk to me like a child, so it was very much like this mutual respect and relationship. Like obviously he's a teacher, he's the authority, and I felt that.
So
But
you found something.
yeah,
You found music.
at the time too, me and my brother were goofing off recording stuff at home, but like that's which would later turn into more. So really music was starting to come up in my life as something that like, oh man, this is something that I love to do.
That's good.
um
So you found something that
yeah,
motivated you or kept you going.
yeah, so it was like,
That's good.
wasn't the worst, it didn't feel like the worst idea to go to school as a music major.
So this was a new experience. Wasn't like you were going down to that college to do the same exact thing,
Right.
but you
but
didn't stay.
but in reality it's like still no purpose. Like I like music, so I go major in music, but to do what?
How did you feel at that point when you left that school? What were you thinking?
When I left which school?
The second.
North Carolina Central.
Yes.
um when I left North Carolina Central, I guess I'm not even sure exactly of timelines because my brain is terrible with timelines.
Right.
But I do know, okay, yes. I just I was just thinking, I really don't know what I was thinking,
All
honestly.
right.
It was more just
That's
like
okay.
a,
I'm just asking.
I don't care about
Settling some.
school.
Right. Another
So
I don't care
I'm
about.
leaving this, and I went from Durham, North Carolina, where North Carolina Central is located, and moved in with my brother in Greensboro, which was like an hour and some change away.
Right.
Um and then I just got a job.
Mm-hmm.
Um but like I said before, like me and my brother had recorded some random stuff when we were in Philly, and he was very much into music as well.
Mm-hmm.
He still is into music. So,
That's good.
as am I. But point being, like, it was time to just get off the beaten path and just figure out, because the reality is this, like, everyone had been trying to tell me where to go, how to live life, what I needed to do to get to the end goal. But at no point had I ever like taken it upon myself to be like, this is the goal that I want to reach, and this is how I'm going to reach it.
Mm.
So at
Mm.
this point, like,
Yeah.
my life is probably for the first time fully in my
I
hands.
hear you.
um
Right.
and I think even as an adult now, that shapes me as a father, because I want to be the type of father that raises my kids to seek out their own goals.
How does that feel to have your life in your hands as far as you know what you want to choose
Um,
now?
Fantastic.
Wonderful.
I mean, to me, there's nothing better. When people talk about high school being the glory days, I'm like, no, now are the glory days. The glory days are really, the glory days are every day you're alive, but this is the life I'm choosing, the life that I live now.
Right. It's
You
what you
know,
want to do, which is different because you've always been this entire conversation talking about what you
because
do not
I
want
was
to do.
supposed to be studious, I was supposed to be a good student, and then I was supposed to make money, and then I was supposed to do this, and
And you didn't want to do any of those
I
things.
didn't want to do any of
So
those
you felt
things.
left out for a long time, probably, because that's like the state of our country.
Yeah,
That's what you do.
yeah. I mean, I definitely felt like an outcast.
You
Yeah,
know, you got to do the next thing.
which I still feel like an outcast,
All
but
right.
I'm kind of
How?
fine with it these days. Well, just for the same reasons, like
Okay.
the things that are supposed to motivate you, like, and I'm supposed to be like, these days I'm supposed to pick sides.
All
Like
right.
at some point during college, I was supposed to choose whether I was going to be a Democrat or a Republican or a conservative or whatever. And then I was supposed to be really adamant about those things and scream in people's
Mhm.
faces and stuff. But I don't really care
Scream in
about that
people's
stuff.
faces. That's hilarious.
So purpose.
All right.
I don't think it's something that hit me all at once.
All right.
It's something I had to discover. And it
Mm,
was like finally I was living my own life. So I had the chance to discover it.
mm,
Um I worked for the most part when I lived in North Carolina, I worked as a bouncer.
mm,
Probably maybe 6 months or to a year after I moved to Greensboro,
mhm.
I joined the Urban Sophisticates is the name of the band that I became a part of. Um, and we
Thank you for
toured and
sharing
we
that.
had experiences. I'm not going to go into all of that because it's not.
Why not?
Oh, the specific stories aren't really necessarily relevant.
Okay.
It's more so just the overall idea that like this is the life that I chose. I chose to join this band, and we had ups and downs. Like in the beginning, it was great. We were doing these little gigs and getting some notoriety. Then things got a little more serious, and they got hard because that's what life is like. Um, we bought some touring a touring bus, and we tried to convert it to grease to run on grease so we could
Mm,
save on gas. That didn't work so well. It cost us so much money and put us in so much debt. um yeah, things that for in moments they were hard,
mhm.
but things were great. I mean, like, it's one of those things that happens when you take your life into your own hand. It's not going to just be like all downhill, you know.
Right.
By
It can be
downhill I
something
mean, like,
beautiful.
easy.
Oh, got you.
um
Everyone interprets that a little differently. I
yeah,
hear what you're saying because people think down, but keep going.
right. So yeah, it was definitely not all easy, but it showed me what I loved.
But it's yours,
Yeah, it
right?
was very much mine. I mean, I would say a lot of it was like my brother's vision,
Right.
but the part I played in it is what I chose to do. Like
Okay.
these are the things that I wanted.
All right.
I discovered what it felt like to create music with a group of people that were um full of passion.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it was. The idea of doing all things into the glory of the Lord, like the reality of like taking something and pouring everything you have into doing it. I mean, I think even when I was in urban, I didn't know totally understand my purpose. Like once again, I was driven by like my own inner, like, those things that are inside of you that just pull you towards it. Like you discover something inside of yourself that's beautiful, and you want to pursue it.
Blooms.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I loved music, yes, but to perform with my friends was my favorite part.
Right. That's
Just to
beautiful.
create something that's spontaneous and like well done.
Right.
Um, and to create an atmosphere of joy.
Right.
I mean, even
Sparks
off
joy.
stage, we had that. Like when we were just living in our apartment and people would come by, and the atmosphere was just like joyful. It was
Right.
like, hey, come in, sit down, be
Have fun.
yourself,
Right.
relax. Don't worry about trying to impress anybody because no one here cares.
Okay.
Like very much this free environment. Um,
Right.
so that ended
Okay.
because things do. Um,
All right.
Not in any dramatic way. It was just more. It was at the end of its road. We toured for a long time. Uh, it takes a toll on you, and after a while you don't feel like grinding anymore,
Okay.
like, because the road life is not the easiest life, especially if you don't have roadies. I mean, even if you do have roadies and all the extras and you're staying in nice hotels, which we weren't.
All right.
So, it just gets old and you're like, I don't feel like doing that anymore. And guys wanted to have more stability. So we kind of went our separate ways,
Okay.
not with any kind of animosity, but with like an absolute fondness for what we had done.
That's beautiful.
Um, and life moved on.
Yes.
Um, but I think that really helped me, in a way, almost forced me to like take a deep look at what I had just done, what I had just gone through being in this band, what it truly meant to like who I really was and what I was here, what light I was here to shine into this world, which is what I think is what purpose is. It's like everybody in this world has a unique light to bring here. And I think our purpose is to bring it.
Okay.
Like the cheerleading movie says, was it just bring it? Isn't that a
Bring it
movie?
on.
Bring it on. There you go.
It's
So
been brought in.
I believe that your purpose is to shine your light. That being said, I had to figure out what that meant for me. Like, obviously it couldn't be being in the Urban Sophisticates forever, because that band wasn't going to last forever. Right now, I am the tech director at Christ Church in Illinois. Right. That is my job title, not my purpose. The light that I'm currently doing my best to shine is bringing excellence to the things that I do. At Christ Church, as the tech director, pursuing excellence in that space looks like me constantly trying to improve my knowledge base. And with tech, that's difficult because tech changes every 5 seconds and updates and becomes more complex. Oh, sometimes less complex, which is nice. But in general, like, you have to work to keep up with how technology changes.
Right.
But I work to keep up with how technology changes. I really hope to create a space where people can encounter God's story.
Okay. How would you do that?
Well, I mean, the fact that every Sunday I'm in charge of the team that controls the audio.
Right.
Like, so whether or not the people online or in the building can even hear the people on stage.
Yes.
The lights, so whether they can see the people on stage.
Right.
And we shape how they see the people on stage.
Yes.
My team has a big responsibility in shaping that entire experience for people.
Right.
Down to how the instruments sound when they praise, or how the microphone sounds when the message is taught. All of these different tools are used for storytelling, whether it be sound or visuals, lighting. And my goal is to try to create a meaningful experience for people. Now, I'm not in control of like how people perceive everything, and
absolutely,
I don't put that type of weight on my shoulders. But there's another aspect to being a tech director, where I'm a leader of this team of people. And quite often, like, my team is a space where like the people who are on it can come in and express like, I'm having a rough time in this area of my life, or and like, we're a group of people who are serving together. And it's part of my job to create a space where they feel welcome as human beings that like have lives and have struggles and have joys, and we share in that together, and try to uplift one another. Pray constantly that I'm a good enough leader to help create that space. Yeah, I seek, and I'm looking to give them what I didn't have. And my hope is to give that volunteer all the encouragement, Because I mean, I was told that, like, being a musician is not a real job. Oh, you shouldn't pursue it because you won't have enough money. Societally, that pursuit is not, it's cute. So I try to encourage that. Don't be afraid,
Yes.
to walk your path, despite the fact that it is not going to look like other people think your life should look.
Right
I
now.
say that, I feel like I don't give that enough emphasis,
The
basically.
creativity. Correct.
Yeah, so that healthy creativity, I started to nurture that space and watched it blossom. And I believe in God and the path that He has for you. But I went to the
Yes.
church,
You
and then
knew
it was
that.
like, hey, let me volunteer on the tech team, and
That's beautiful.
sound engineer. And they were like, oh, we need somebody like that part
Oh no,
time.
that's awesome.
Oh wait, we need somebody like that full time.
That's wonderful.
And now it's like I went
So it
from
worked out.
like in an instant,
Okay. So you
like,
had those years where you weren't doing what you loved after doing something you loved so dearly, and now you're back into the creative space again.
yeah, and really
And that
trying
feels
to
good.
create something new here,
Right. That's beautiful.
something reminiscent of what I once did before, but something that's like
Okay.
real and nurturing to the people in it.
I want to thank you for showing up and being on my podcast. It means a lot. It is an honor. I want to ask you before we end this, eh, what is your nugget of wisdom for our audience? If you can sum up everything you said and like make it into a cute little nugget, what would you give to your audience? Like a favor, party favor, but
Right. So
for them to take with them.
I would say that there is no specific life path that they should
All right.
follow.
Okay.
It's not specific. I mean, in a way, perhaps, but not so specific. First high school, then college, then job. That's not a thing.
Just live your
Maybe,
life.
perhaps you'll find that you're living your life to its fullest and it looks exactly like the blueprints that some people would show you.
Right.
Perhaps not. Figure out who you are.
Yes.
And then once you figure that out, be that person.
You've got to talk to the audience. They're gonna need to hear something.
I
They're
think that's
regular
it.
people.
And not what aggravation or bitterness looks like when it shines through you.
Okay.
I feel like that's important to say because there's people that are passionate these days, but sometimes their passion
But
is
it's not a
fueled
kind
by
of passion that's
bitterness.
love, right?
And it's like, getting in a shouting match with people is not something I'd suggest. But yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, if you're live in the Chicago area, the Chicagoland area, and you're in the music, Christchurch, like, you might find us doing a worship night, which is actually all the musicians just hanging out and being nerdy.
All right.
So if that's your bag, find us.
Well, thank you again, Aaron. It's been a joy. Well, tonight we heard from Aaron James. I enjoyed hearing his story. I like how he had to discover his purpose, but not all at once. I also like how he talked about his talents and love shining through you. I hope your week is beautiful. Thanks for joining.